visual world. We are in a strange moment in history where acceptance is necessary. It gives us a chance to observe on where we are in the world, realizing the importance of being comfortable within our own surroundings, noticing the impact that good design has on our communities. Today, more than ever, we pay attention to objects that include an aspect of sustainability and have a sense of social consciousness. In August 2019, it came to me that I wanted to be a part of this enigma. At the beginning of my last year in Bali, I got the chance to travel to Japan with my mother and her guests. My mother is a guide for Belgian tourists who like to visit Japan and learn more about this amazing country. It was great to have a Japanologist right by our side. Now, I got super inspired by the way the culture of the country developed into what it is today. There were times when the innovation in infrastructure left me speechless. We traveled through 10 different cities and villages in about 3 weeks. We usually rode by these high-speed trains called Shinkansens. These beautifully designed trains travel up to 320 kilometers an hour. And our trip included visiting many different temples, parks, nature habitats, lakes, mountains, museums, memorials, and 2 art islands. These art islands are called Naoshima and Teshima. They are located in the inland sea of Japan and both have a population of about 1,000 people. While going to all these beautiful places, it was important for me to capture these moments. And about a week into the trip, my mother gifted me a notebook for me to journal. I started writing every night after our long days while also collecting small folders and receipts, helping me form my day in my journal. As every day was a brand new experience. Now I came upon the word wabi-sabi. I had seen it somewhere and became curious but couldn't quite remember what it meant. I asked my mother about it and she answered with, "It is basically seeing the perfection in the imperfection." This made me want to learn much more about this Japanese concept, so I did. The saying is related to Rikyu's teaism. Rikyu is a cult of teaism that was known to be about the worship of wealth. As time changed, Japan raised this cult into a religion of aestheticism. It came to be about worshipping simplicity and accepting reality. Wabi-sabi is the recognition of the beauty that the true nature of life reflects. To acknowledge the imperfect, impermanent, and the incomplete. The Japanese saying, it gave me an insight on both culture and soul. Now I found that it's a bit like love. I could explain how it is to me or how it feels to me, but it's only when you find it yourself that you really know. It is a concept which allows people to slow down and investigate to find potent wisdom in your everyday life. Wabi-sabi has impacted me greatly, and I found myself creating in a much more mindful state. During the trip, we visited a beautiful museum on the island Naoshima. The building was partly designed by a Japanese architect, Tadao Ando. Tadao Ando expresses the saying of wabi-sabi in many of his works, as he uses architectural aspects of the spirit Sukiya, which is a simple tea house design originated in the 16th century. It is not only found in the exterior of his work, but plays a prominent role in the interior of his creations, above all in the furnishing and treatments of light. As the exterior is composed of smoothly finished concrete walls, the interior as well is constructed of a floor, walls, and ceiling of exposed concrete. A traditional style is not employed, but he had the intention to receive the true character of these tea houses through the three-dimensional composition of spaces, details, and distribution of light and darkness. Now, these concepts made me very curious about what design really is. I got inspired by these beautiful complex structures which were yet so minimalistic. With this knowledge and aspiration, I came back to Bali, with the idea in mind to design a piece of furniture for my Greenstone project. The ideation process brought me to drawing a simple sketch of a chair, literally just an outline. I did not include any scale, materials, or dimensions. Not knowing what to expect, I sent it over to industrial designer and educator, Scott Vanderhaeghen. Now, he noticed that I was going too fast down the road of design. As he explained, let's first study many ideas before choosing one. Engage in a process of ideation, then we can refine the design idea. Now, I felt curious and motivated by his comments, and Scott showed me how to work with orthographic drawings and how to use a scale ruler. He also gifted me a copy of The Elements of Design, a book documenting the teaching of industrial designers and educators, Remi and Alexander Costello. They spent half a century developing and clarifying a teaching methodology that they named the structure of visual relationships. Now, I soon realized this study was on the understanding of beauty, a beauty that lays within asymmetrical abstract relationships. During this study, I learned to appreciate how to see the power in moving one's eye around objects and form by finding and engaging a visual balance in three-dimensional composition. As Rowena Reed quotes, "If you can't make it beautiful, what's the point?" I will be showing you the process I went through in investigating some of the exercises within this book. The first is an exercise of organizing a selection of 3 rectilinear volumes. The intention is to find constructive balance in a combination of contrasting forms. I started off by selecting 3 beautiful rectilinear components that vary in proportion discretely, to then initiate the relationships by identifying the dominant, subdominant, and the subordinate. You can identify the dominant with it being the largest, most dramatic, and engrossing. This component stands in the most superior position of the group. The subdominant is there to complement the dominant in its form. The relationship that they have is extraordinary, as the contrasts in these characters are meant to be complementary towards each other. The value of this connection is increased when the axes are static. The subordinate adds a third visual aspect to the design. It is there to make up for what is missing, to have 3 perpendicular axes within this problem. This practice gave me a sense of overall configuration. It is seen in my first attempt that I didn't quite have the understanding yet. Over time, I analyzed and refined my compositions to ensure unity and a balance of directional forces. As industrial designer and professor at Pratt Institute, Gerald Golota quotes, "Once you've had the experience, you can destroy the exercise, and you haven't lost anything." Can you imagine how liberating that idea is? Well, it gave me a way of visually understanding abstract design from a designer's point of view. In Block 4 of Grade 12, I was ready to put my knowledge into form. A blank sheet of paper, a pen, and myself. A second try to designing a chair. I faced many issues, such as not knowing how to calculate a certain bend, or having to consider ergonomics. A chair has to be light, strong enough to hold a person's weight, and it needs to be comfortable. Using 3 different types of material, which each of them acting in a different manner. Recycled plastic panels for the seat, bamboo splits for the legs, which were shaped with an epoxy, and metal strips for the frame. All of these components were created to the exact inherent proportions of my design. Now, this project has given me the chance to explore the reality of creating, as I found myself in a cycle of collaborating with other makers and craftsmen. It was a journey that involved all of the skills that Green School has taught me. It was truly a battle. As Ludwig Mies van der Rohe quotes, "A chair is a very difficult object. A skyscraper is almost easy." Plato, however, wanted more. Instead of a thing simply matching a definition or concept, for him it matched the relevant form or idea. All chairs in the everyday sensible world are imperfect instances of the perfect form of a chair, which exists in the intelligible world of forms. So, what makes a chair a chair? Is it that it is an imperfect copy or instance of the chair form? It partakes of that form. What I've learned through this process is that design comes down to how we preserve things. A lot of the time we see and talk subjectively, but what really matters is the objective truth. To focus on what is really there by using language to discuss not only what we think. Talk about what you know rather than what you think. By communicating this way, we can focus on the important, hereby to share that the visual appeal of products, situations, and even workplaces have been found to have an impact on your productivity and your mood. Now, I want to inspire communities to become more socially cautious to what they design, to bring forward the idea of using ecologically responsible materials, as design is also a part of serving others and engaging in community issues by using our ability to recognize problems and solving them. To become a part of shaping a better future, as I have a passion to work with authentic and sustainable mediums. As Frank Chimera quotes, "People ignore designs that ignore people," and I don't want to ignore the responsibility that comes along with being a designer, and the privilege of servicing a community through the process and its fruition, and all its wabi-sabi. As a result of this, I want to follow a similar path within my own visual language. And on that note, I'm glad to announce that I'll be attending the Design Academy of Eindhoven to follow my interests in an international and professional environment, because this journey will never have an end to it.